I've been using this LG OLED for a little over a month now, and it is the very first OLED that I've used. I got it to replace my 4-year-old IPS monitor, and while that monitor was great, the OLED has just been a massive upgrade for everything really, in terms of gaming, watching movies, even creating content. And now that I've had a chance to properly use it for a while, I can honestly say that there are some very good things and there are some bad things about the monitor which are all worth covering. So I'm going to give you a breakdown of what it's been like as a first-time OLED user and what to expect if you are considering getting it. Alright, so I really like the display on this thing, like the colors, the clarity, the motion, the responsiveness. There's absolutely nothing like it. I recently platinumed Ghost of Yotei on PS5, and for the most part it was all on this monitor. The vibrancy of the colors and the brightness was unlike anything I had ever seen. Sure, at first when I started to play the game, I was playing on my QLED TCL TV, and that was amazing, but this was a whole other level. Even the depth of blacks on this thing, like say a black wallpaper or something displayed on screen that is meant to be black, it's unlike anything that you've seen before. It still blows my mind a month later every time that I look at this thing at dark scenes in games or movies or whatever it is. But yeah, this display gets super bright. I mean, it has a typical nit brightness of 250 nits and peak with HDR enabled at 1300 nits, but putting the stats aside, I've got the monitor set to 100% brightness, which honestly is pretty average, but it also has a peak brightness setting, which when enabled becomes much brighter. I've currently got mine set to low because when I set it to high at nighttime or with the blinds closed, it's just too bright for me. Another great thing is the extensive display options in the game mode for this monitor, say from options like RTS and FPS, to even reading modes and different color profiles like sRGB and DCI-P3 to suit your preferences. For the most part now, I have game mode set to Gamer 1, but it wasn't like that at first, which I'll come back to later. But now Gamer 1 looks the nicest to me, so I have it set to that and I've made a few minor tweaks. Another amazing thing with this monitor is the viewing angles and the consistency that comes with it. I mean, I can get almost flat side on with this thing and it just looks the same as it did looking at it head on when watching movies or even playing games. The monitor supports HDR, and while I personally do not like the way HDR image looks, because to me it looks like it's kind of washed out and lacks vibrancy and brightness, and it all looks a little too warm for my liking, at least for the most part. But on PS5, for games that natively support it, HDR does look good. For example, sometimes when playing Ghost of Yotei with HDR off, there are some scenes, like let's say campfires, where the orange of the fire almost look like it's overly saturated because of the overall settings that I have the monitor set to, right? But when HDR is enabled, it takes away the overly rich, almost too harsh representation of the colors, and it makes it look somewhat better. But on the other hand, when enabling it in Windows, again, it looks washed out. I tried to use Microsoft's calibration tool, which was an unbelievable nightmare on its own, a product that they've released with so many bugs. I mean, look, it's not the point, but calibrating it made it look better, but still, to use one word to sum it all up, HDR to me just looks dull. One of the things I'm kind of on the fence about with this monitor also is the overall design and what it means for everyday functionality. The on-screen display menu is navigated with a joystick style button, and it's located at the bottom center of the monitor. Now, for most people, this isn't an issue because most people likely only have one or two monitor setups, and the second monitor would likely be off to the side of your main one. However, I have a smaller portable monitor set up on my desk, and I have that positioned underneath this OLED, so every time I need to use the OSD menu, which is more often than you think, and again, something I'll cover in a moment, I need to move my portable monitor to access the joystick. Look, it's not a big deal, but it is inconvenient for me. Then there's the reflections and the glare. This monitor has a glossy screen and it has an anti-reflective coating, and most of the time I have been fine with it, but it can definitely show up a lot of reflections. Like, let's say when I have my blinds open and I'm watching a movie or playing a game, it's glare galore. But if I'm working away, like say scripting a video and it's basically a white screen with black text, you don't really notice any glare unless you look for it. Mind you, I've got the monitor set off to the side of a window, but let's say if it was facing a window, then it would be much worse. So keep that in mind. If you are in super bright rooms or depending on your general positioning, this might be an issue for you. For me, it's easily manageable. I just close my blinds when I have to. Think of it like your phone screen, or if you have a MacBook, it's gonna pretty much be the same thing. But it's not all bad. There are some benefits to having a glossy screen, like a lot more vibrancy in your colors, and at least I think it does look a lot clearer. But what's not as clear is text. So if you are considering this monitor and you mainly do productivity or office work, you're going to want to listen up here. Text on any OLED monitors so far have never been as clear as traditional and more common office monitors, which tend to be IPS or VA. It looks like as if text on screen has aberrations, or basically just looks fuzzy and out of focus. Now, one way to combat this on Windows is to run ClearType Text Adjuster, which does help to improve it. At least it did for me, and it does look a lot better, but it's not as clear as my old IPS monitor. So if you are planning on using this monitor, but let's say 90% of the time you're coding, you're writing, you're doing spreadsheets, or basically anything that involves heavy text work, honestly, this monitor or even OLED in general right now is probably not right for you. Now, beyond text clarity, another thing that you need to be aware of if you have sensitive eyes is that there will be an adjustment period. OLED panels flicker to control brightness, and it's not something that you will actually see, but your eyes can definitely feel it, especially in the first week. You know how at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that I set game mode to gamer 1 now? Well, at first, after the first week or so of using this monitor, I had such bad eye strain, I almost thought that I had to return it. Now, to fix that, I recommend setting your monitor to reader mode first, which basically desaturates the whole thing, turns down the brightness, and really pumps up the warm tones. Honestly, it's going to suck. It is, but it will help with the adjustment period. After a few days after your eyes have gotten used to things, you can change to better display settings to get the full potential from this monitor. However, even after the adjustment period, I would recommend keeping the color preset set to a warmer tone and even enabling nightlight through Windows to a low setting. I've got mine set to a 10, so it's not excessive or anything, as all of this will cut down on blue light, which contributes to eye strain. But yeah, look, I won't lie, I've got sensitive eyes, and even after the adjustment period, there are times where I'll sit in front of the desk all day working and then gaming at night, and I'll still end up feeling the eye strain. Anyway, onto things that I flat out do not like about this monitor after a month of use, and honestly, there isn't many. But the first is how I mentioned needing to access the on-screen menu joystick often because, well, at least in my experience, and not every time, but more often than not, when I turn on the PS5, the monitor does not detect the HDMI input signal, and the only way I can fix it is to power cycle the monitor. Now, apparently this is a common issue with LG OLED monitors and TVs in general, and it's supposed to have something to do with VRR. Many users on Reddit have mentioned this, and there are even a few videos on YouTube on how to get around it, but they're all variations of check your HDMI cable, which I've tested 3 different cables, change your HDMI ports, which I have between the 2 ports multiple times, and also in the on-screen menu, make sure your HDMI input compatibility version is set to the AV setting. I've done all but a song and dance, and the only thing I can do to get a signal is to cycle the power. Look, it might not seem like it's a big deal, but it's a premium product at a premium price point. You shouldn't be jumping through hoops like this just to get the basic function to work. Now, if you guys know of a more permanent fix, definitely let me know in the comments because it's starting to drive me mad. There is a firmware update and I don't know if it will fix the issue, but knowing my luck, something worse is gonna happen. But yeah, this is the main thing that I do not like about this monitor. And the second thing is the AUX port on this thing. Look, I get it. I get why they positioned it where they did. They made it accessible for gamers to plug in their wired headphones, especially as this monitor does not have built-in speakers. I get it. But this means that in order to get the sound to come out to my speakers to use for both the PC and the PS5, I've got no choice but to have the AUX connected to the monitor. So I now have this eyesore of a cable right here. If the AUX port was on the back of the monitor with the rest of the ports, this would have been so much cleaner, but here we are. And you may have been thinking a moment ago when I was speaking about the joystick why I wouldn't just reposition my portable monitor. This is why. If I did, this cable would just be dangling here and I just can't look at that all day. I'm sure many of you would agree with it. It's just like why? But would I buy this monitor again, knowing everything that I know about it? No.
No. Yes!
Yeah, I would. Like I said, the colors, the brightness, the clarity in games and movies. If you've never used an OLED and you're considering this as your first, you're not going to be disappointed. It is only a 1440p monitor and I'm not wanting for any more. Like, let's just put it that way. I was going to consider spending more to get a 4K monitor for the purposes of the PS5 because my PC definitely cannot output consistent 4K without sounding like a jet engine, but I thought I've got my TV for 4K and I've been playing on a 1440p monitor for the PS5 for years and it's been fine, but man, the visual upgrade to the OLED makes it feel like you've gone 4K, which I know it sounds silly, but it's true. So yes, I would say that it's a good buy and it is worth it. But yeah, that's it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like to let me know and consider subscribing for more long-term tech reviews. Also, if you've got any questions about the monitor or you just got some thoughts, drop it all in the comments below and let's talk about it. And yeah, I'll see you all next week.